Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be continuing our series on spellcasting. We're approaching the end, but we're not quite there. We're talking about 8th level spells, specifically Bard 8th level spells. This is when you start to enter the final tiers of play. You've entered Tier 4. You are a level 15 character, which is where most pre-written modules either end or have ended already. Most adventures barely make it this far. So if you are in a campaign that lasts this, you've been either playing for a long time or you started at a really high level. 8th level spells are the penultimate spells. They're the ones that come just before 9th level. And 9th level spells are literally world-changing. 8th level are a weird spot because you end up with this smattering of spells. There's not many to pick from. And they're all very, very powerful. You cast them once per rest. And yeah, this is when you start to really creep into those ultimate power spells. But as a bard, you have only a limited number to pick from, so what bardic spells should you take? I've prepared a top 5 list I recommend everyone look into. Starting with number 5, Power Word Stun. This concept really comes down to the whole, you speak a word of power, and it does a thing. Power Word Stun doesn't have a saving throw, an attack roll, nothing. You just use it at a creature, and if their health is 150 or less, this spell works. If it's over that, then it does nothing, and you wasted your spell slot. But if you're pretty sure that that creature has less than 150 hit points, you can cast Power Word Stun, and they're stunned. They're just stunned. Then, they have to make a Constitution saving throw to break the stun. The cool thing about Power Word Stun is con saves are not the greatest in the game, which is actually why this spell's lower on the list. A lot of creatures can resist Constitution, but your spell save DC is going to be pretty beefy at this point in the game. Like, we're talking close to 20. So creature's going to have, a difficult time making that saving throw, even with a half-decent con score. They have to be a really powerful monster to break it easily. But there is no time limit on this, which means theoretically, if you find a creature that has a low Constitution save, you could stun them indefinitely. If it is impossible for them to make the save, they are now stunned permanently. There is no saving throw, there is no concentration that they can make and that they can break. They're just stunned forever. So yeah, you can absolutely end creatures this way. And that's really powerful. If it was a different save than Constitution, I'd be giving it a higher spot, but as it sits, it's the 5th one on my list. Next up at number 4, we have the Mind Blank spell. Mind Blank sounds like a cool stunning effect, but it actually is the opposite. It blanks the mind of you, or whoever you cast it on. It's a 24-hour effect, no concentration, and for that time frame, you are immune to psychic damage, immune to having your thoughts read, immune to being charmed. And if someone tries to read your thoughts, even with something as powerful as a wish spell, they can't do it. It blanks your mind in the most literal of senses. Divination can't pick up on you. You are just invisible to anything with psychic abilities. You're just blank. And the damage immunity is really cool. The power of being immune to charm is also nice. And the fact that no one can read your mind or anything, if you know you're going up against someone with mind-reading abilities or someone who does a lot of psychic damage or anything like that, this spell makes you basically immune to anything they can do. So it doesn't come up all the time, but at the higher levels of play, you're up against some pretty potent creatures, pretty powerful monsters that have a lot of power. Mind Blank can undo a lot of that, which is why I gave it a spot on this list. And it lasts for 24 hours, so it's not like you could cast it before you go to sleep if you still have your 8th level slot. go to sleep, wake up, still have it for the rest of the day, and have your slot back. So it's just a good spell overall. That's why it's the 4th spot. Now the 3rd spot, this is actually one of those weird situations where I'm not really sure how valuable this spell is. It depends on how you play. The spell is the Glibness spell. The reason I'm giving it level 3 spot for the Bard specifically is because this is the Bard's entire deal. You cast it, it lasts an hour. No concentration. Again, notice a theme here. As long as you have Glibness on, your charisma checks, persuasion, deception, intimidation, all those, you can't roll lower than a 15. Now see, Bards already have a pretty good booster to their charisma checks. That would be their expertise. But it doesn't do much for their dice rolls. Even their Jack of all trades feature doesn't really help because that's for things they aren't proficient in, and you probably are proficient in your persuasion checks. And the Rogue has something similar at level 11, the reliable talent feature, but Bards don't get that. This is kind of their deal. You cast Glibness, and for an hour, you cannot roll lower than a 15, which means that even if you're not proficient in something, your Jack of all trades feature will kick in, giving you half proficiency in it. So at this point, your proficiency bonus is 5. It's going to be 6 soon, which means you can't roll lower than, 17 on any check. And what's more likely is that if you are proficient and you have expertise, you're going to be pushing up into the higher 20s with your charisma checks. And as a little bonus, any magic that tries to tell if you're telling the truth always says you do, no matter what. So the Glibness spell is just a Bard's secret weapon for that end-of-game charisma stuff when you really want to charm that dragon, or whatever other monster you're up against. No magic, no ability, no nothing can tell that you're lying. And your charisma checks are going to land. So yeah, top tier spell for a Bard. Next up, number 2 on the list, Feeble Mind. Feeble Mind is an instantaneous attack. It does 46 psychic damage. Not much to say there. Oh, but wait, that's not all it does. You cast Feeble Mind at a creature, it makes an intelligence saving throw after it takes the damage. If it fails the save, its intelligence and its charisma drop to 1, which effectively makes it about as smart as a slime, and about as charming as one too. It cannot cast magic, cannot use items, cannot speak any language, cannot understand language at all. It becomes feeble-minded. What's cool about this spell is that there's, again, just the one saving throw, an intelligence save, which is a really nice one to target, and if you fail, you are feeble-minded for 30 days. An entire month of being a blathering idiot. You can still recognize your friends, follow them, try to protect them. So I guess you could try to punch or something, or swing a weapon badly, but your intelligence and charisma are gone. And if you fail the save again, that's the thing, after 30 days, you have to repeat the save. If you fail it, you have to wait another 30 days. Meaning that if you keep failing intelligence save, a person could be feeble-minded for months, even years, before they finally manage to get out of it. And that's assuming that they actually can make the save at all with their intelligence set to 1. Yeah, this spell is almost impossible to break. It's basically impossible to break once you've been hit by it. If you fail that first save, you're just done. Unless someone casts Greater Restoration, or Heal, or Wish on you to get rid of it. It is absolutely the kind of thing that if I knew a boss had Legendary Resistance, I would use lesser spells to wear down those Legendary Resistances, and then I'd hit them with Feeble Mind, especially if I knew their intelligence wasn't great, or, as long as they're not a super mental-based creature. It probably isn't. Even if the spell doesn't stick, it would be so worth it just to try. Imagine Just imagine turning a spellcaster into a non-spellcaster, or the evil genius that's the BBEG into just a drooling moron. It's perfect. It's the perfect spell, and honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that that's all it really does, I mean, it does a little bit of psychic damage, but that's about it, and it can be healed, so it's not perfect. But there is one spell that I would say is a little bit better, and that's why number 1 is Dominate Monster. This is the mind control spell, Dominate Person, except it works on anything, any creature. You cast Dominate Monster, the creature makes a wisdom save, and if they fail it, they are now your thrall. You can command them with general instructions, or you can use your action every turn to take direct puppeting control of them. They will follow your command. If they take damage, they can repeat the save, but the wisdom saving throw is a tricky one. It is a concentration spell, first one, that we have on this list, and it lasts for an hour, or if you upcast it to 9th level, it lasts for 8 hours, and it can dominate anything. Again, worth whittling through legendary resistance to cast. I knock legendary resistance down and then dominate the dragon if you can do it. Why not? Then you're controlling the dragon. Have it wipe out all its minions, and then have it, jump off a cliff and not fly. Or hold its breath and go underwater until it suffocates. Like, there's so many ways that you can end a creature if you are actually dominating them. It is the most perfect form of mind control out there, and it works on anything. And that's why I gave it number 1. Bardic magic is about control, manipulation, and twisting the mind. That's what bards are all about, especially at these higher levels of play. And these are all spells that lean into this. Stun effects, mind blank, glibness for charisma, feeble mind for just making people dumb, and then finally Dominate Monster to just control your enemies with the perfect spell. 8th level spells are super powerful, and I recommend bards look into all of these. While they're considering what to take from their magical secrets, keep in mind you still have bard magic, and that bard magic is potent. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more spellcasting reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.